Yes, I think you are right in this, like this point in particular, because I can be considered myself as a member of a third generation after the displacement from original Nubia, and I can speak Nubian, but not fluently, not as I supposed to be. Okay, and for sure, the next generation, I don't think they will be able even to remember some few words in Nubian, whether it was like in Dandi or Nubian. I think we are facing the same situation no matter what you are, Matoki or Fajiki or your Dungulawi Mahzi. You are facing the same problem that we stop to speak our own language. I think it like in an ancient time it was something related to the education, because you'll have an education in Arabic, so
Of course,
people thought that Nubian will hold them back not to understand Arabic well. So they were just preparing the children to speak in Arabic, because they will speak in Arabic while they are in school. But this situation, I think it cannot be continued until this moment. Fortunately, we have some certain villages here in Aswan, and I'm here in Aswan, by the way. They still speak Nubian. Like you can, I think people in Gharb Aswan, Hesa, Gharb Shil, and most of villages here in Aswan and Aswan town, the Nubian villages that still speak Nubian language. But I think in Tahgir, and I don't know if you know this term, Tahgir is a term that for the alternative villages that we were thrown at. So I think most people on Tahgir was the language itself, and I think it is similar. It is a similar situation to the Nubians in Sudan. The majority, I think, they lost the language itself. Um, and yes, I think like getting to know our language and starting to teach this language, I think it is like what I think it is the basic and the only fundamental things that we can do. And recently, like in the last 10 years, I think we had some kind of initiatives here in the northern part of Nubia. We have some kind of cell phone app called Nubi. It was like helping.
I met Mazin. Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah, so we have some effort. I know it is not enough, but it's as a start, I think it is a good thing to start having an app, having some kind of YouTube channels that can broadcast.
There are these books. I mean, there are these books that recently came out from Gerven Oei, and so
exactly.
Of course, all of these are important, but the most important thing is teaching your children, because you get it for free. You don't need a book. You don't need a cell phone. You need nothing. You just need the mother or the grandmother to speak Nobin or Matoki or Andandi. You get it for free. And this is a great gift you can give to your children.
Exactly. I'm gonna pass the mic to someone else. Sorry, I think I talked so long, but talking with you and discussion was so interesting. I think I talk like most of the time, so I'm gonna let other people do it. Thank you, Vincent.
Thank you, Mazin.
دكتور شكري، عاوزين نسمع صوتك.
I have difficulties hearing you.
To share us with the questions. Hello.
Hello. I didn't
have two questions.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. There was something with the connection. I didn't hear it properly.
I have a question.
Please ask it.
Did you hear it? Okay. You said the term nubiology or nubiologist. When was the first time that you read about this term or you heard about it? because I'm using this term a lot here in Egypt, that it's, to me, it's equal to Egyptologist. We also have Nubiologist or Nubiology. Many people didn't use to this term. So this is something involved in conflict Nilo-Sahara language, which I think the last two was in Nairobi, and the next would be in Nairobi 2023, next year, Nairobi. More Nubian are involved because this is something particular related to language, and this is what they can share, or not like archaeology. So this is maybe my point of view. You will find many Nubians is participating in Nilo-Sahara language from Sudan, or mostly from Sudan. There's no one from Egypt, I think.
I think that there are different questions going at the same time. I had a question, I'm not sure from who it was, about when was the term Nubiology introduced, and when was Nubian studies really first introduced as a term? This is a very interesting question, actually. And I talk about it in my keynote. I'm sorry I keep referring to this, because I was also very interested in when did first the term Nubian studies become in use. And that is only actually in the middle of the 20th century. Nubian studies really as a field of scholarship started to develop with the UNESCO campaign, and specifically with the discovery of Farah's site. That is when scholars, I mean, most of them Egyptologists actually, started to realize that there is this entire, cultural field that deserves its own name. And that is when Nubian studies and Nubiology was really coined. And I would say this is like in the late 1970s. So Nubiology itself, as a distinct academic field, is only 50 years old. It's in that sense really quite recent. Before that, it was always considered to be part of Egyptology, and maybe in some parts, in some universities, it still is. But I think that by now there is so much more research done on the Middle Nile Valley that Nubiology as an independent field of scholarship is firmly established. I know nothing about Egyptology. I'm a Nubiologist, for example. I know nothing about pharaohs, but I can tell you something about Old Nubian. So the fact that there are now people that are that specialized within this field tells you something about its maturity and about its independence in a way. Yeah. I hope that answered your question. I see a question by Anne. Hi, Anne, in the chat. I agree with what you're saying, but how do you think that we academics can help in this effort? I think, I mean, as I indicated, we can help in, you mean in the effort of spreading knowledge of Nubian languages? Or
yeah, and and just the awareness of Nubian culture, the awareness of Nubian people. What can we do? I mean, I agree that it's up to the Nubians really, but hopefully we can do something as well.
Yes, I think that, and I indicated this also a little bit earlier, is that we should consistently emphasize the importance of the present for the work that we do on the past, right? I study what is considered the Middle Ages. But at the same time, all of the work that I do, I try to bring into relation with the current struggles, political situation of the Nubian people. And I think that we constantly, at least in the work, when we appear in public, when we talk about our work, when we write about our work, when we teach to our students, we should always, or at least this is what I always do, I always emphasize that what you are studying is a living culture. Even if you're studying the past, you are dealing with something that is alive. It is alive for the people in Nubia right now. Not only in Nubia, but the entire diaspora, in fact, which is all around the world. And to create this constant awareness, especially in our students, that when we deal with the past, we are dealing with the present, in fact. We are saying something about the present. We are reflecting the present in our work on the past. I think this is one thing that we can contribute. Obviously, for those of us who are within institutions, where you can get money to send in order to uplift the Nubian voices, this should be done. When I started Dotaw as a journal, it was very important for us to have immediately Nubian contributors to our volumes, Nubian authors in our book series. We don't have money, but we're still trying to, whenever we can, to uplift those voices that are from the local communities. When I was invited to give a keynote at the Warsaw conference, I argued with the organizers to include Nubian keynote speakers, to emphasize that they need to give travel grants for people from Egypt and Sudan. So we can use our positions as academics wherever we can to influence, the uplifting of our Nubian colleagues. I think that there are very few other things that we can practically do. I'm not sure if this is helpful, but I'm just giving examples from my own practice, let's say, as a scholar who is not institutionally affiliated. I don't have a lot of money or prestige in any sort of way. So we try to do what we can.
Yeah,
it's in your politics of citation. Who do you cite in your papers? That's another thing maybe. Who do we refer to? Who do we thank in our papers?
Thanks, Vincent. I had somebody was calling me while you were talking, so that's why I muted you. I muted myself, but I appreciate what you have said. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne.
مازن، شوف لو حد تاني حابب يشارك يعني بأسئلة. دكتور شكري لو موجود يا ريت تشاركنا يعني.
متهيألي دكتور شكري بيحاول، يعني أنا شايف في الكاميرا الدكتور شكري بيتكلم بس مفيش صوت يا دكتور. لو في مشكلة في الصوت ممكن يا دكتور احنا أي سؤال بنوجهه لفينسنت ممكن نستخدم الشات وفينسنت بيطلع عليها برضه وبيرد عليها. By the way, Vincent participation in the last conference for Nubian Studies is shared now in the chat. You can just press on the link and you can get the full article by downloading it as a PDF.
Feel free also to share it on the Nubian Geographic Facebook channel, or when you post the recording, you can also add this.
Actually, I was about to tell you. I was about to ask you. Go ahead.
Feel free to share. Yeah.
Thank you. I think Dr. Shokri has some question for you, but I don't think that the voice works well with Dr. Shokri. I think he's like using.
Maybe you can write it.
Yes. So until Dr. Shukri is done with writing, does anyone have any other further question for Vincent? It is almost 7 o'clock and we have him just for 1 hour. He's working in a tight schedule, so we don't want to keep him late.
Yes, I think I have a question. Hello, Mr. Vincent. This is Kamal speaking. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Kamal.
Okay, so actually I have a question as a Nubian actually who doesn't speak Nubian well. One of the ways actually I was introduced to Nubian languages was through music. So I have a question regarding the Nubian, old Nubian language. Is there any way for us to have maybe a song in Old Nubian? I actually have heard you speaking Old Nubian a year or 2 years, almost 2 years ago. I think that was in Nubia West conference, I think. And I really think that would be perfect for us to have a song in Nubian or even a verse, just in translated to Old Nubian to introduce it to modern Nubians.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful idea. There are a few texts in the Old Nubian corpus, so in the Nubian, the collection of Old Nubian texts that we have today. There are a few texts that look like they are hymns, so they're meant to be sung, like they're praises of Archangel Michael and so on. So they're religious, right? They're Christian religious texts, and they are songs, clearly. Also, we have a lot of psalms, and they're also songs. I think if you look on YouTube, there is one recording of somebody singing something in Old Nubian. I forgot where it was. I found it at some point, but the music is really terrible. I think it's yeah. It would be wonderful to make something like this. And we have thought about it in the past. One of the problems I think that you encounter when you want to translate something into Old Nubian is that a lot of the words that we have in Old Nubian are, of course, part of the cultural context of that time, right? So they're Christian, they're agricultural. So these are the types of words that we have, right? We don't have the word for telephone or, or for even the word for chair or something like that, right? Or table, maybe we have the word. So for very common daily things, we don't have the words because those were not the things that they were writing about, right? They were writing about either religious topics or they were, selling their land or buying land or shipping date palms from here to there. So what you will encounter when you try to translate something to Old Nubian is that a lot of words are missing. Yeah, once or twice I was asked by video game developers to translate some stuff in Old Nubian because they have like a Civilization game. I think Civilization 6 or something had Nubians in it, or whatever version there is out now. And it's like, can you translate this? I can, but like all of these words do not exist. I mean, we don't have the word for chariot and we don't have the word for arrow, or like we don't have these words. So how to do? This is a problem. But when it comes to finding modern forms, modern ways of communicating these old materials, I think this is a very fruitful way. I'm not sure if you know for example, the drawings and the images made by Arbab. He has done all the drawings for the Gerven Oei books, and he has taken, I think, one of the I'm not sure, like let me put the link in here. One of the books is a let's see, where is it, if I can find it quickly. This is the Twitter account. One of the books is a retelling of an Old Nubian story and a Meroitic story, but like in a modern way. And so this is a way of popularizing, historical Nubian culture, but also making it, giving it like a new a new flavor, a contemporary flavor. And I think this is also something that you're thinking about maybe in terms of music. So at least within visual arts, there are people who are doing this, mainly Arbab. He is a fantastic artist, I think. With music, I think it would be great. I mean, we can always think of something, right? I mean, if you don't have to work in Nubian, maybe you can borrow it from Nobien or something. The problem is, I may speak sometimes Old Nubian, but I don't speak it. Yeah, I mean, we don't know really what it sounded like. I have a good idea about it, but it hasn't been spoken since the 16th century. So, or at least it's not been written since the 16th century, and supposedly the proper way of pronunciation is lost. We can get a good idea, but so it always is partially a guess. But I like the idea. I like the idea of singing Old Nubian. When we are together with, you know, with my colleagues and we're working on a text, for example, we're currently working on the text of Sonkitino, you know, and we go out in the night and have a drink and we'll make Old Nubian songs, like just for fun. So they exist, but they are not recorded.
Yeah, actually, you have to record them and maybe add some Nubian soul to it.
Ah, that would be fantastic. There is this artist, Current 93. He is also a Coptologist, and he made some Coptic songs about Archangel Michael, which is also very nice. So, like, you know, he tried to incorporate these old texts into his musical practice. You have to find a musician who is willing to do that.
Yeah, actually, I think we have actually many Nubian musicians who might put the effort to revive the Old Nubian language. We just have to, I don't know, with a plan, try to gather the efforts of everybody for this.
Well, if you have a text, I would be happy to give it a try and to get it into Old Nubian. It will take me some time, but I can always give it a try. So just send me an email, drop me a line. I'd be happy to help if I can.
Okay, perfect. Actually, I have many ideas, songs that actually can translate to Old Nubian. I know that actually you are going to put all the effort, but you just have to try that.
Yeah, let's give it a try. I'll put my email in the chat.
Hello, Vincent. Hello.
Maher.
You had said something about recording like a text. You were talking about Civilization 6. They sent me like a text to translate it, and I think they did the same to you and many others. Why you didn't start with these texts to make it as an Old Nubian and then record it?
I think it was impossible. I mean, they wanted translations of things that do not exist. We don't have the words for it, and I told them this is not possible at all. They wanted first Meroitic, and I told them forget about it. And so I think in the end, I don't know what they used, but they used maybe your text, yeah. I also
no, I hear something strange. It's not belonging to or related anyway to Nubian.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Someone did it.
Someone did it. Someone got paid for it. Yeah, I also got an email maybe a year ago from a Chinese company that made a game from the phone. But to be honest, I don't play these games, so I don't know what it was for. And they had a deadline of 1 week, and I said, I don't have time. Sorry. You'll have to find somebody else.
If I'm gonna ask you if you have a time to put some kind of curriculum to teach Nubian language because you are some kind of linguist and you are related to Nubian language. Do you think this can be in the future if it is you or someone else? Is it possible to make this curriculum? Not the same way they did it. They started with grammar, and grammar is kicking people away from learning language. Yes, using how babies or how kids start to learn language to start with this, just having more vocabulary and like the iceberg, and then they start to learn it that way, not starting with the grammar. Grammar will come later.
Of course. Yeah, no, I am not a specialist in teaching children language. So I'm, you know, I write grammar, I do linguistic work. So that will be a bit difficult. But if you just talk Nobeen or Madoki or Andandi to your kids, they will start talking it. They don't need a class. At some point, they'll need a class if they need to know how to write. At some point, they'll need a class if they, you know, need to know the grammatical rules. But just talking to them daily in your native language, that is going to be enough. You don't need to, you know, develop a curriculum. The moment you develop a curriculum, it's already too late. Actually, I mean, you have to talk to them from birth. Now, for kids that are older and, you know, were not exposed initially to Nobeen or to any of the other Nubian languages, you will need to have some type of curriculum. But this is not something that I can help with. What I'm always thinking about is that it would be great if somehow, you know, the Nubian community could connect with other indigenous cultural communities. For example, in the United States, I'm not sure if Anne, for example, has any idea of how to do that, because, or in New Zealand or in Australia, because there they have established already much more, you know, extensively these types of children education programs, you know, in Cherokee or in Nishnabemwin or in Salish, or they develop these programs. And they must have the knowledge how to do this, how to revive a language. Yeah. And an important example, of course, is the way that Te Reo Maori in New Zealand has been revived. I mean, revived to such an extent that this indigenous language is now one of the officially used languages, even by the Prime Minister of New Zealand. And so maybe we should look at examples outside of Sudan and Egypt to see how other indigenous populations deal with this language loss and language revitalization. But this is not my specialty.
There are organizations in America that help people do that, help groups of people revive their languages. So you can get some help. You can probably get some money to help with Nubian. But let me also say that when I lived in West Aswan, I encountered people who were still talking Nubian. They were still talking canoes. And as a matter of fact, they wanted to teach me how to speak canoes. So they are, in some places, they are teaching their children in exactly the way you suggest. So that's something to look at as well.
No, you're absolutely right, Anne. I mean, the situation for Nubian languages is not that bad. There are still villages along the Nile in which people speak Nubian languages. So,
yeah.
So this is a hopeful situation. But the whole point is how can we, you know, how can we stimulate that even further?
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah.
Also in larger places like Aswan or Cairo or Khartoum, where there's much more exposure to Arabic.
مازن لو ما فيش حد عنده أسئلة بتاع حاول تختم بقى عشان الوقت بتاع فينسنت. مازن.
تمام. معاك مال. احنا حاليا متهيألي اللي احنا يعني اخذنا من وقت فينسنت كمان 10 دقائق زيادة. I think we extended the time for more 8 minutes. Okay, so we're still 8 minutes from the time, Vincent. And
No problem.
thank you for this meeting. Hope inshallah soon we will have it for like a larger amount of time or a larger period of time. This will be recorded soon inshallah, and it will be published in our YouTube channel inshallah after it will be translated into Arabic.
Shukran.
So thank
Thanks.
you for sharing your time with us, Vincent. It was a pleasure to have you. And أشكر كل الناس اللي موجودين. Thank you Dr. Ann, Dr. Sokri, Maher. Thank you everyone for a further meeting inshallah, for coming meeting with another special guest inshallah. We'll publish it in our Facebook page. Thank you everyone.
Thank you,
Vincent.
Vincent.
Thank you, Maher. Thanks, Anne.
Thank you,
Thank
Vincent.
you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Anne.
Kamal.